Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be taking you through the amazing Alien chess gambit. Go ahead, like, subscribe and comment to support the channel. The Alien gambit arises after e4, c6, the caro kann defense, d4, d5. So the knight can try to go to two places. We have knight c3 and knight d2. Any can work, but this time for the repertoire, let's just go with knight d2, d times e4, knight takes e4, knight f6, the main line. Here we deviate with knight g5. In case of h6, we go with knight takes f7. This is the beginning of the Aryan gambit. Tell your neighbor that now this is the time real chess is being played on the board. The expected move is king takes f7. Here I recommend we begin with knight f3. So the first attempt, the most third choice played move is bishop g4. Here we begin with knight e5 check, and in this position there are two places which are convenient for the king. Either king goes back to g8 or king goes back to e8. Let's begin with the first one. If, for example, king g8, we play bishop c4. After e6, then knight times d4. That one gives us a huge advantage. Let's go back. King e8. Then we begin with bishop c4, sacrificing the queen. So in one of my online games, black takes the queen on d1. Then we can still just go for bishop f7, checkmate. Let's go back. In case of bishop f5, we begin with knight e5 check. After king g8, then we play bishop c4, immediate check. After e6, we hit the bishop with g4. Players in this position play bishop e4, hitting the rook on h1. Bishop e4, hitting the rook on h1. Here we go ahead and play bishop times e6. After king h7, then we play g5. So in case of bishop takes h1, g6 is a checkmate. Let's go back. So h times g5, we begin with knight f7, hitting the queen, at the same time the rook in this position. After queen f4 check, bishop d2, bishop b4, then we play c3, bishop d6, knight g5. After knight g5 check, the king can try king g6. After bishop f7 check, king f5, knight takes e4, king takes e4, queen e2 check. There's a checkmating sequence in two. Bishop queen f5, queen e6 is a checkmate. Let's go back. In case of bishop f5, still we go with knight e5 check, king e8. We begin with g4, bishop h7, bishop c4, threatening checkmate in one on bishop f7. After bishop g8, queen d3. We are threatening to play queen g6 and to be checkmate in one. After knight f3, if in case of e6, we begin with bishop d3. After knight beat d7, short castling, the main line. Bishop d6, rook e1, just trying to develop the pieces and taking over the open files. Rook f8, knight e5. So here we are planning to go for a Greek gift, as we've seen in the game. Bishop takes e5, pawn takes e5, knight d5, then queen h5 check. After king g8, then we play bishop times h6. Queen e8. After queen e8, we play bishop g6. After knight f6, e takes f6, knight takes f6, bishop takes e8, knight takes e8, bishop takes e8, g6, g times h6, and rook a d1. This one, it may happen by miracle. if black plays only the strong moves in the position, but also white has chances of winning the endgame. 3 pawn islands with 2 isolated pawns. As you can see, the pawn on h6, the pawn on e6, and all of them are potential weaknesses. Let's go back. After bishop takes h6, in case of g times h6, we begin with queen g6 check, king h8, and queen h7 checkmate. Let's go back. In case of c5, then we play c3, c takes d4, then we play bishop d3. In case of d times c3, then black loses the queen after bishop g6 check, after king takes g6, queen takes d8. Let's go back. After knight takes e4, in case black plays bishop f5, it means they are trying to decline the gambit. So here we begin with knight g5. After e6, knight f1, knight 1 f3, knight f6, knight e5. Now the two knights are attacking the f7, so black has to try to defend the f7 pawn. Bishop g6, then here we begin with bishop d3, trying to remove the defender. Bishop times d3, queen times d3. After queen f5, bishop d2, bishop b4, c3, bishop e7, then we take the pawn with the g knight, short castling, then knight h6, a very strong move, check, g takes h6, then bishop takes h6. Now white has a variety of moves to play in this position. Knight bd7, then we play queen g3 check. After knight g4, queen takes g4, bishop g5, queen takes d5, king h8, and then queen g7 is a checkmate. Let's go back. In case of king h8, we just take the rook, which is on f8, and we can be an exchange up. Let's go back. In case of bishop e6, then we play bishop d3. After knight bd7, then short castling, then g5, we take off the pawn with the bishop, because now the pawn can't take the bishop because of knight g5 check, forking the bishop, at the same time the king getting back a piece with compensation. Let's go back. After black plays bishop g7, rook e1, attacking the bishop e6. After bishop d5, bishop f4, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3. After rook f8, bishop c4, king e8, queen g3, then knight h5, and queen g6 is a checkmate. This is a practical game which was played between an IM and an FM, and the IM went on to win the game comfortably. After rook f7, queen takes f7, and the checkmate. And the CM, this is FM Shagro again, and CM Katoksta. It was on Lichess, played on Lichess. It was a blitz game, and after knight f3, the CM Brixie played knight bd7, bishop c4 check, e6, short castling, bishop d6, rook e1, rook e8, knight e5, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight d5, and then our move which we have to play no matter which opening, no matter which position, queen h5 check, king g8, and then bishop times h6. In the game, the CM played knight f8, bishop times g6, which looks a blunder, but it's a very strong move. King times g7, rook e4, it's a very strong move. Knight g6, rook g4, knight d e7, bishop d3, very strong move. Rook h8, rook takes g6, knight takes g6, queen takes g6, and king f8. And in this position, white played rook e1. After queen h4, rook e3, threatening to come and play rook f3, checking the king, which is on f8. Queen takes h2, king f1, queen h1 check, king e2, and after king e7, queen g7 check, king d8, bishop g6, opening up the whole of this column to be played by the rook, because the rook can check the potential checking squares for the rook against the king. Bishop d7, and after rook d3, king c8, white went on to win this game comfortably after queen takes d7, king b8, queen d6 plus, king c8, queen takes e6, king c7, queen d6, king b6, rook b3, king a3, king a6, and queen a3, checkmate. And after knight bd7, bishop c4 check, as we said, king e8, remaining in the center, queen d3, knight b6, knight e5, threatening to have a checkmate in one. And after knight takes c6, queen g6 was a checkmate. But however, in this position, let's go back. In this position, in case of e6, then we begin with queen g6 check. After king e7, queen f7 check, king d6, then we can go ahead and play b3. In case of knight taking c4, then the knight can take the c4 and checking the king, which gives white potential possible checking mating sequences. Black tried bishop g4, knight e5, king e8, and white played bishop c4, threatening checkmate in one, bishop f7 checkmate. After bishop h5, queen takes h5, knight takes h5, and bishop f7 was a checkmate. Let's go to another game. In another game, after knight f3, black tried c5, c3, d takes d4, c takes d4, knight c6, bishop d3, e6, short castling, bishop d6, rook e1. After rook e8, then knight e5, check. After bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight, dislodges the knight from the powerful f6 and plays knight d5. Here we come in with our move, queen h5 check, and in case of king g8, we sacrifice the bishop. Bishop takes h6. After king e8, e7, bishop g5, and white went on to win this game because of all the potential mating sequences. All these squares are covered by the bishop, at the same time the queen, and in case of the queen playing to, maybe if the queen plays queen f7, there is bishop g6, which is very dangerous, threatening checkmate in one. Another